I will be talking about Copper Lake Schools, which is a juvenile facility for girls. It's also known as Lincoln Hills for the boys' side. So, starting in 2010, Scott Walker decided to close down a few schools and transport all the students to Copper Lake or Lincoln Hills, depending on gender. So, because the other schools shut down, there was overcrowding at Copper Lake or Lincoln Hills, and there was also not enough officers/teachers to go around. Back in 2014, the American Psychological Association finds out that Lincoln Hills/Copper Lake isn't properly supervised, among a plethora of other problems. Later in 2014, a public defender brings to light a bunch of other problems that are at Copper Lake/Lincoln Hills. Because of this, an internal investigation is caused. From that investigation, multiple staff members are forced to quit or they get fired. An example of this is Scott McKenna, a guard who put his hand around a 15-year-old girl's neck. In 2015, the school practically gets raided, and then the feds take over. In 2016, there is a civil rights investigation, and in 2017, the ACLU files a lawsuit against the horrific conditions of the schools. Later in 2017, there is a pretty big staff shortage at the schools. So in 2018, Scott Walker proposes that the school be shut down and then replaced, and that did end up going through. Today, I will be interviewing my friend, Morgan Larson, age 21, about her time at Copper Lake. I will be playing both parts because it is an emotional subject to talk about. So, how did you get into Copper Lake? I got into Copper Lake when I was 15 years old. I had been at a treatment center before that called Eclairs Academy. They took me to court for stealing a cell phone, which I didn't actually steal, and then they sent me to Copper Lake. I was taken there in a transport vehicle. I had been there for a few months when they dropped the charges for me about the cell phone. Adams County didn't want to let me out, so they took up all of my misdemeanors and bundled them together, so they had a reason to keep me there. How long was your stay at Copper Lake? I ended up staying there for a year and a half. The next question is, did you or someone you know ever get mistreated by the staff? Yeah, a lot of us got mistreated by the staff, myself included. For example, one time I wanted to talk to one of the therapists. I wasn't in a very good place, and one of the staff there, Miss Milacki, said no, and I had to go to my room. And I didn't want to, so I refused because I really wasn't in a good place and I needed to talk to the therapist. She started yelling at me to go to my room. I walked down the hall and I said that I wasn't going to my room until she called the therapist. So she followed me down the hallway and got in my face. I didn't move at all. I just stood there. I didn't hit her, I didn't yell, and she pepper sprayed me. Then, after that incident, she tried to press charges and say that I had hit her. The video footage showed that I didn't actually do anything at all. I literally just got pepper sprayed for wanting to talk to my therapist. What was your worst experience at Copper Lake? It's really hard for me to talk about my worst experience at Copper Lake, but I will talk about it. The worst thing that happened while I was there was something that actually didn't happen to me. It happened to my friend Sydney. She had depression issues. About a week or so before she was going to get released, she tried to commit suicide. Every night before bed, we would sing together. That night, she didn't sing with me, so I knew something was wrong. I went, and when I was in my room, I pounded on the door and screamed for the staff to check on her because her room didn't have a camera. Nobody came until the next shift, which was about 30 minutes later. The person that came and checked, one of the staff, Mr. Spencer, used to be a paramedic. When he walked into her room, he found her, and she had hung herself. Her heart stopped. I heard him yell to call an ambulance. I was in the room across from her. I saw the whole thing. He began doing CPR. The ambulance came and took her away. There was tubes all over her. She didn't die, but she might as well have. She's a vegetable now. She can't walk. She can't talk. Was there any people at Copper Lake that you think didn't deserve to be there? While I was in prison, I met a girl who was there for killing her grandfather, and she told me her story. She was 12, and he was beating her little sister. Her little sister would have died if she hadn't done anything. She was brave, and so she stood up to her grandfather in order to protect her sister. Everyone there was mean to her, except for me. Once, one of the other girls asked why I was friends with her, and so I asked that girl if she knew about her story, and if not, maybe to listen to it. After that, they became friends. And when she got out, I got to see her. She's doing good. She was in that place from the time she was 13 to the time she was 25. The whole time I knew her, all she talked about was her baby sister. She did what she had to do to save her. I'm happy they let her go. Now, some people don't agree with that, but can they say they would have done anything different if put in that situation?